again, welcome to my channel, Simply Maggie. Today I'm going to be teaching you this little finger knit project, this little turban headband. I'll put a picture right here. And the yarn that we're going to be using today is the Meri wool by We Are Knitters, and this is a 100% superwash merino wool, and I believe it's a number 5 bulky yarn. You can use something that's a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner if you prefer. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be merino wool, but I will say this is like super soft and squishy, and it does have a little bit of stretch to it, but the merino wool is also delicate, so you have to keep that in mind. And that's it. We're going to go ahead and get right into the tutorial. So here is a close-up of what I'm going to be showing you how to make. And what's great about this project is it doesn't require any sewing at the end. Everything is already connected, so it's super easy to just tie up at the end and throw it on. I'm going to pull a strand from the center, just like that. Now we're going to leave, I would say, about a 6-inch tail in the beginning. That way we can use it at the end to tie up the wrap in the center here on the inside. To begin finger knitting, go ahead and place the strand, the working yarn. The working yarn is the strand that is attached to the skein. You're going to place that in between your thumb and your index finger. And then to cast on your stitches, you move the yarn between your index finger and middle finger. And then you go under your middle finger, over your ring finger, under your pinky. And then back around your pinky, under your ring finger, over your middle finger, around your index finger, and then under your middle finger, over your ring finger, around your pinky again, and then back under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and around your index finger. You always want the yarn to end up in between your index finger and your middle finger. So that's how you cast on your stitches. It's just an under-over pattern with all your fingers. We're using all 4 fingers to finger knit today. So now you can begin knitting your first row now that you have 2 strands on each finger. So to begin knitting, you're going to take the first strand on your index finger, or you can do your pinky first, it really doesn't matter, but you're just going to pull the first strand over the second one and off of your finger, and then your middle finger, first strand over the second one and off, first strand over the second one and off, and then first strand over the second one and off. So you just knit your first row, and then just scoot the stitches down a little bit so they don't slide off your fingertips. I like to keep my stitches pretty close to the end of my fingers, but that might take a little bit more practice. So I'm going to take the tail here, and I'm just going to put it in between my index finger and my middle finger, like that, and just kind of keep it behind my work so that it's out of the way. And now we're going to go ahead and knit our second row. So take that working yarn, you go under your middle finger, over your ring finger, around your pinky, back under your ring finger, over your middle finger, and around your index finger so that it ends up in between your index finger and your middle finger. And now you're going to do the same thing you did on your first row and just pull the first strand over the second one and off, over the second one and off, over and off, over and off. So that was row 2. Now you're just going to continue doing that until you have approximately 36 rows. You can do more. It really depends on the size of your head. As you get to the end and you get to how many rows that you think you need, you can just wrap it around your head and see if it's long enough. So we're just going to continue doing that and keep knitting rows. And once I have approximately 36 rows, I will come back and show you how to join your work to start finger knitting in the round. So this was row 4. I just finished finger knitting my 36 rows. Like I said, you can do less or more. Just wrap it around your head and see if it's long enough to meet the 2 ends together. Now is the time to join the ends together. That way we can start knitting in the round here and create a headband. I'm going to move my working yarn to this side of my work, and I'm going to take this end here, the opposite end, and just bring it around. And you want to make sure that your wrong side is facing up. So you don't want it to be like that. You want it to be, you know, wrong side facing up. It's kind of like the curled side. It's hard with this yarn, but the curled side is facing up like this. And you're gonna make sure it doesn't twist, and you're just gonna bring that around here, and you're gonna start connecting your work while you're finger knitting. And to do that, you wanna find the first stitch on the edge here, which is this one right here. And you're gonna go ahead and place that right onto your index finger like that. Okay, so make sure it wasn't twisted when you connected it. I'm going to go ahead and place a stitch marker. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but this will help you keep track of where you started going around. Like I said, it's optional, and it'll also help you, we're gonna go around a few times, so this will help you keep track of how many times you've gone around to make it wider. So now that you have this stitch on your finger, you're gonna go ahead and knit a row. Under, over, around, under, over, and around. We always make sure that our yarn here, the working yarn, ends up between our index finger and our middle finger. So now the only difference here, while we're gonna be connecting and knitting around, is we're gonna have 3 strands on our index finger. So what you wanna do now is take those first 2 strands and pull them over and off, and we're just knitting our row like we did before, over and off, over and off, and over and off. So we just knit our first row while connecting, and now what you're gonna do is on this side over here, you're gonna find the next stitch along the edge, and you're just going to place that right onto your index finger again. So now we're gonna knit our second row connected to the side here. We're gonna go under, over, and around, under, over, and around. Then we take the first 2 stitches and go over and off. Just gonna scoot that down. Over and off, over and off, over and off. Scoot that down a little bit. So that was row 2. And now we're just gonna continue doing that. We're gonna find the next stitch on the edge here and just place that right onto our finger, index finger, like that, and then knit a row. And like I said, you can start at your pinky or your index finger and start pulling the stitches over and off. That really doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. So that was row 3. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way around my headband until I come to the stitch marker here, and I will show you how to keep going after that. I just want to show you real quick that I placed my stitches on a stitch holder here just because I need to take a little break. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I put them back on my fingers. This is where the working yarn is. So I just want to slide my finger right back in there and slide it off of the stitch holder. And then the next stitch here is for my middle finger, and then my pinky. All right, so we have all the stitches back on our fingers, and I did go around, all the way around 1 time. So once you go around once, you knit all your rows. It should look something like this. Now don't worry about this little thing here sticking off of the side, because that's going to be cinched in at the end. You see we have our stitch marker here. I'm going to go ahead and place another stitch marker just to let myself know that I connected. Well, now will be the second time. And then we're just going to continue doing that. So I'm going to go around a total of 5 or 6 times, depending on the width that you want. I believe this one here I wrapped around 5 times. When I'm done, I will show you how to bind off and then cinch the center of your headband. So here's my next one, and I'm just going to keep going. So I have finished finger knitting my headband here, and I removed all of my stitch markers. So what I did was I knit my original 36 rows, and then I ended up wrapping around and connecting 5 times. And now I'm going to show you how to bind off. That would be your next step here. So we have our stitch on each finger, and you're just going to go ahead and take the stitch that's on your index finger, just take it off and flip it over to your middle finger, and then bind that stitch off by pulling the first strand over the second one. And then you're going to take the stitch on your middle finger and do the same thing and flip it over to your ring finger. Then we're going to do the same thing and pull the first one over the second one. And then again, take that stitch and flip it over to your pinky. And then take the first stitch and pull it over the second one and off. So now what you're going to do is you can take that right off your finger. I am going to pull out a big clump of yarn here, and this is what you're going to use to wrap around and cinch your headband in the center here. So just pull some out, just about enough to like fill the palm of my hand, and then go ahead and cut the yarn. Pull this large clump of yarn here through that last stitch, and then if you're using merino wool, you have to be kind of gentle, but pull it so it makes a knot. And now I'm going to take the tail from the beginning of my headband, and I'm going to take the yarn that we just cut from the skein, and I'm going to tie a knot just to kind of bring those two ends together here. All right, and now you can kind of just leave this tail, set it aside. I'm going to flip my headband right side out. You can kind of see what it looks like here. I'm going to give it a little stretch. I mean, you could leave it like this. Honestly, you could have a simple wide headband and you could be all done. Just kind of cut your ends here on the inside. But what I'm going to do is show you how to cinch it. So wherever you tied those is where you're going to want to wrap the yarn around. So just kind of cinch it up a little bit, and then take all the yarn that you pulled from the skein, and we're going to begin wrapping it around. I'm going to start going back over it, and I'm going to start going back this way, moving towards the other side. I think that's pretty good here. It's about an inch or so wide. So just go ahead and bring that yarn to the inside. So we now have our tail here from the beginning of our headband. And I'm going to go ahead and use that tail to tie the end of that yarn and the tail together. That way it keeps the yarn in place that you wrapped around, and tie it tight enough so that it's not going to slide around. And then you can take your scissors and just trim it. If you want, you can go ahead and tuck that. And then shape your headband. And that is it, you guys. That is how you make this cute little finger knit turban headband. All right, guys, I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial. It was super easy. It really doesn't take that long to make. If you just kind of sit down and put some time aside for it, it really takes like maybe an hour to knit the entire thing up. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section. I read all of your comments and I answer as soon as I can. So I will have all of the materials linked down below for you that I used today so that you can find them easily. And I will also have more pictures on my website, which will also be linked down in the description box. And that is it for today, guys. I will see you in my next video.